Hello, beautiful beings. Welcome to my channel. You too can be beautiful, where I believe that if you have a beautiful mind, you will have a beautiful life.
Wow, am I gonna drink that?
If you're wondering, that's literally some bitter herbs, and I don't know how people do it. I feel it like right there. Today we are here to talk about parenting styles. Why are we here to talk about parenting styles? We are here to talk about parenting styles because knowing what kind of parent or caregiver we had will give us a little bit more insight on why we have anxiety, why we seek validation from other people, why we go rob a store for attention, why we do things in an unhealthy manner in order to gain the attention that we need emotionally. And let's get right to it. First, we have authoritative, which out of all the studies that they had, this has the most positive outcome for a developing mind, and in turn causes a nice, well-rounded, healthy adult that can function in society and make decisions out of love and not anger. And for me, I think it's so important because we have caregivers who took care of us, and then caregivers who took care of them, and caregivers who took care of them, and caregivers took care of them, and caregivers who took care of them. And you know, there's so many different belief systems that were passed down, and you don't know anything as a child. You only know what you're exposed to, which is what your caregivers exposed you to. So we don't know any better. We survive the only way that we know how. If our caregivers down the line have never stepped out of their own mindset and questioned their own beliefs and their own limited thinking, then we're essentially blocking our own potential to be what we are, which is love. We all return to love. Believe it or not, people like to think, oh, we're loners, oh, we're this, but there's a lot of studies out there that show that community helps you survive, and we're creatures of community. We need people around us, and this even shows in some parenting styles. For example, there are a lot of cultures that are active nowadays that still believe in spanking children, even though studies show that spanking your child is not going to change their behavior. You're not really understanding the problem. There's a lot of humans out there that will spank just because they had a bad day and they're fed up with the situation, and they just act out of impulse and spank their kid, and your kid feels that. But if your kid is around a lot of people that get spanked, then they see it as normal, and they're more likely to be less traumatized due to the fact that they have community around them and they have people that they could connect with because they got spanked, and their friends got spanked too, and they could talk about it. They could communicate with somebody about the situation and say their opinions emotionally. And that is majority why we have cancer groups, why we have AA meetings, why we have therapists, because we tend to seek help and opinions of other people. That's why I call up my friend when oh my god, my freaking cut, I'm bleeding, I've been smacking my head.
Why am I like this?
That's why we seek other people and connections. So back to what I was saying, authoritative. Is it authoritative? Authoritative. I think it's authoritative. I've said it way too many times. I don't know what's real and what's fake. So there's 2 categories to each, and that's what makes up the 4 categories of parenting styles: demanding and responsive. Responsive to your emotional needs and properly explaining to you why it is that we can't buy you the toy from the supermarket or the toy store. And there may be a lot of reasons for that. And there's obviously a child-friendly way to say, yo, I'm broke. There's ways to explain things to children because in fact they are human. And demandingness means that you demand good grades from them, you demand them to respect you, you demand them to honor your feelings, you demand them to clean their room. An authoritative parent is allowing their little human to experience life within the safety net of their home and the safety net of their advice and their words. And this helps the child be able to make decisions for themselves without having having to be told what to do constantly without restraint in a way, because authoritative parents will let you go out, but you're gonna have a curfew. You know what I mean? And everything's not black and white. Nothing is black and white. So for me, I have a mixture of a little bit of all of them in different categories of my childhood, but people that have authoritative parents as adults tend to have good coping mechanism skills. They're able to emotionally stabilize themselves when something hard happens. They have a good child to parent connection. They have a good stability. They're able to take more risks as an adult in to follow their dreams, to follow their goals, because they're confident that they have a good support system behind them and within themselves to be able to take the failures of life and take the fact that you're going to get a lot of no's before you get your yeses, and that succeeding takes time, because as a child they were able to fail and try new things under the supervision of their caregivers, whether it was them being there, like their conscious mind, keeping their caregivers in mind, because they gained trust with their caregivers. They understood that their caregivers will be there for them even in the darkest times. And authoritatives don't have a conditional love, so it's unconditional. It's not, oh, you cleaned your room so I love you. You didn't clean your room, you're a bad kid. Go to your room, you're punished. You know, that conditional love. They show love through any circumstance, even though there's a big difference between unconditional love and conditional love, and there still being consequences. Authoritatives still have consequences to your actions, and life pretty much is about that. But it's not because I told you so, you can't do that. Which brings me to the second parenting style, which is
authoritarian.
This is when you have a mix of unresponsiveness, which means you're cold and unemotional, and you have demanding. So this is the parent that demanded from you straight A's in school. This is the parent that told you to sit still because they're an adult and you are the child. This is the parent that told you to speak only when spoken to. This is the parent that doesn't let you hang out with anybody. You're not able to have sleepovers. You're not able to have friendships. You're not able to go anywhere besides school and class and any extracurricular activities that you may have that are, for example, sports or any other school clubs that you can mention. And these parents cause a lot of anxiety within their children. Why? Because you have a kid that solely relies on the word of their parents with essentially no real explanation besides, I told you so and I'm the adult. This is where conditional love comes in. If you get straight A's, that's the only time that I'll show you any affection. And if you don't get straight A's and you don't get any affection from me, this ingrains within us a sense of we're only worthy based on my achievements and my accomplishments, when in reality we come to this world and we've created that. You don't see a tiger counting their kills, or you don't see a bird counting their miles of how far they fly. They just fly because they enjoy to fly, and kill because they have to kill. And we're intellectual beings, so we have a very intricate brain, and the way that our brain works is pretty crazy the more you learn about it. But once you have certain ways that your caregivers spoke to you and talked to you, you have to find a way to fill your own emotional needs somehow, some way. So if the only way that you're going to get some attention from your parents is to get straight A's, then you are going to get straight A's. But also you might be a rebel because you want to get away with stuff. You want to explore your emotions. You want to explore what it's like to have best friends. You want to explore what it's like to go out to a house party. And these parents might not allow you to do anything, which as an adult can cause you to have anxiety. You don't like to try new things because you are scared. You have difficulty making decisions in your life because decisions were always made for you. So when you grow up and you get thrown into the world and you move out, it's kind of like, oh damn, I've never really had to do this before. So you're discovering what you have to do and how the decisions that you have to make, but you have no fallback. You have no support because at this point you're on your own, and these are rent matters or where to live or what job to get, and it could just be very, very exhausting to try to figure out how to live when you never really had a childhood that you can explore your needs in. There's a girl from my middle school and she was on my dance team. She was not allowed to do anything. I feel like every time we were out or something, her mom was there, very typical, got good grades, and she was not allowed to explore with boys. You know, I feel like in 8th grade, if you've ever seen Big Mouth, you know, that's like where you start to think about boys. I don't know. My first kiss was in 7th grade. But during our 8th grade field trip, we went to Busch Gardens. And on the way from Busch Gardens, she gave a hand to the hottest guy in school. Still the hottest guy to me, honestly. Like, he gave me a quarter in 8th grade and I kept it all the way till senior year. That's how sexy this guy was. Yeah, it was a quarter. I kept a quarter. He made like a little indentation in it in woodshop class and I decided to keep it. I don't have it anymore, but I kept it all the way until high school. But anyways, she gave a hand to this guy in the bus and her mom was on the bus. She had no outlet to explore any of her feelings. She had nobody to talk to. She had nobody to say, oh damn, I have a crush on this boy. People do what they need to do to get it out. Those repressed feelings are gonna come out. And if you don't let them come out in a natural way and let your energy flow, then you're gonna do some weird because well, there's a reason that serial killers love the attention because they probably had neglectful parents that, you know, not all of them, but most of them have a really rough childhood and seek validation from people. And they absolutely love the fact that they get letters and they get recognition and they get interviews. And like, you know, the world really has an obsession with serial killers, me included. I think they're very interesting people. And the fact that you could go out and stalk someone and kill them is like, what the hell? That's just bizarre to me. Like, bizarre. Next, we have permissive parents. So this is a very responsive parent and warm and accepting to their child's and little human's needs, but very undemanding. These parents do not demand much from you. If you want a toy, baby, you're getting that toy. If you want to go run outside and kick a dog, probably not going to say anything about it. I hope they ask you why you kicked the dog, you know, because like, what the hell? Why are you kicking a dog, you weirdo? These are children who grow up to have lack of boundaries. They have a very difficult time in relationships and interpersonal relationship because essentially you were never taught how to think about anybody else because as a child you were given everything and you're so used to you and your feelings are the only ones that matter no matter what the world around you. When you grow up and you think in that mentality, I can imagine it can be really shocking and jarring to be in an environment when the world doesn't revolve around you, you know? And these are probably narcissists. I don't know. That's just me assuming. I don't really know that. But these are egocentric people. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't know if you know anybody like that in your life. And then we have neglectful parents are the parents that are cold, unaccepting, and undemanding. These are parents that aren't home. These are parents that have to work a lot and aren't able to provide you with the needs. These are parents that don't care where you go. These are parents that if you leave the house, they're like, oh yeah, sure, whatever. As you could probably assume, most of these kids are likely to be unable to regulate their own emotions and have bad coping skills. They are probably doing heavy drugs or abuse their food or just feel really unsafe in the world and they want to numb themselves from the hurt that they've grown up in. They don't feel seen. They don't think they're worthy. And having neglectful parents will really damage the way that you try to seek attention from the world because attention is attention. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad. If you're not getting any attention at all, it's better to get negative attention than positive attention. These kids are most likely bullies. These kids are most likely angry at the world, feel unheard, feel unseen, feel emotionally invalid. They feel unworthy. And when they grow up, they can turn to delinquency and feel only supported and cared for when they are arrested or when they're recognized by the cop because they've done so many crimes that this is the only way that they seek validation and that they seek attention from people. So they turn to these coping mechanisms in order to feel seen in the world and only to feel heard because it's the only way that they knew how to get the attention. They probably screamed a lot when they were a child, and when they caused like temper tantrums, that's the only way that they were able to get their caregiver's attention, whether it was negative and they came to be screamed at. That's what they knew as love because you don't know anything else as a child. As an adult, I have things that I can go out and step out of my own comfort zone and belief system, and I can look and observe and learn new things and be like, oh, well, my mom did this because her parents did this and this and this. And I have the mental capacity to see that 1 + 1 equals 2. But as a baby or an adolescent, a 7-year-old, I don't know any of those things. I'm still learning what sadness is. I'm still learning common things to be learning when you're a child. You shouldn't have to be worrying about adult things when you're a baby or growing up. That is definitely a caregiver's issue. And fortunately and unfortunately, we are born into a world where we have our own set of challenges. My personal enjoyment is to now heal myself and lick my wounds and figure out and kind of like disassemble the Rubik's Cube and put it together and make myself whole again. And I really just want to encourage everybody to do the same, because what else are you doing? You know, what's the point of chasing money when you're not happy? What's the point of reading and going to school and doing all these like human pointless things that if you're not happy within yourself, they're not going to bring you happiness? You know, you're seeking validation from exterior things when the validation and love and compassion is always within you. Yeah. I just want to mention that me personally, I have a mix of all those parenting skills. I just had a lot going on. Obviously, there's a lot of people out there that have had worse upbringings than mine, but I'm saying this to you and I'm saying this to myself. Just because I didn't experience something that was really, 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 really dark and traumatic, and my parents weren't raising a serial killer, doesn't mean that my emotions don't matter. And it means that I am enough, no matter what. And they could have done better, but they didn't have the tools to. But I'm giving you the tools to, and myself the tools to just look at things as a third point of view and kind of looking at it from afar and saying, yeah, that's why. And that's okay. You know? I'm just going to chug it. Chug, 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 chug. I immediately regretted that. Okay, ready? Oh my God. I'm going to spill all over myself. I already know. All right. With that being said, take only what you need. Okay, no. With that being said, take only what you need. Never more, never less. Don't be greedy, bitch. Bye.